Picking up from the last video, we're going to continue talking about the layers palette. We're going to talk about all of these icons that are in the lower half of your layers palette. The first one is intuitive, it's your trash can. The next one is create a new layer. I can go ahead and create a new layer by just clicking on it. I've given myself a layer 1, to rename it, color code it. I can also drag it right like this to the trash can and get rid of it. Or I can choose to drag an existing layer to create a new layer. I've just dragged Dune layer to the create a new layer, drag and drop, and I've got Dune copy. I'm going to go ahead and show my transform controls and just kind of put it in the background here. And my return key to apply that transformation. And I'm going to uncheck show transform controls. And I'll show you why I did that in a moment. The next icon next to it is folder, create a new group. I can go ahead and click that and give myself something called group 1. When you have a lot of layers going, you might want to group certain layers that intuitively belong together in your organization structure and put them inside that group, just because sometimes the layers palette gets so long it's unwieldy. And I'm going to go ahead and drag Dune copy and Dune under there. So now both of these are part of group 1. I can collapse it, and you see how this would be useful. My layers palette would be shorter. I can open it out and have it all there. I can also duplicate a whole group by dragging that to create a new layer, and I've got a copy of 2 copies of the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that copy I have going. Drag it to the trash can. The next, this half moon, this is sort of your adjustment layer. This is very useful. Let me show you what I mean. If I go to Dune copy right here and I apply an adjustment by the way we learned, going under image adjustments, and let me pick up hue and saturation again and change the hue and saturation. Click OK, preview, it's done. This is working in a destructive fashion. What I mean by that, this is permanent. If I want to bring back my original image, I would have had to save it on a different layer, turn the eye off, do something like that. Because now, if I go back to adjustments and hue and saturation, my values are back at 0. So I can't really kind of manipulate the adjustment that I just made. To do it in a non-destructive fashion, so if I select, say, the duck layer and apply a similar adjustment, this is maybe a little hard to see, right here, hue and saturation, if I pick it up, notice how I get a similar dialog box right here. But look what it did in my layers palette. It gave me a layer above this, which is a layer mask. Think of it as a layer mask. So what you're doing is you're applying this adjustment in this layer mask, and you can continue to manipulate that. Let me show you what I mean. If I come in here and change my hue the same fashion, my values are still there. It's still, I can go ahead and keep changing, making these adjustments as I want to. And if I want to get rid of it, I can go back to my original image. It's still there. So in that sense, this is working in a non-destructive fashion. The downside is, as you've probably noticed, it has applied this adjustment not just to the duck, but to both the Dune images too. So what we need to do is attach this adjustment that we just made to the duck layer only. So we want this layer mask to be applied to the duck. There are two ways you can do that. You would go ahead and you can go under Layer and click on Create Clipping Mask. Notice what happens as soon as I click here. I have this downward arrow that shows that this is applied to the duck only now, and both my dunes went back to their original images. So this is really simple to do. I will show you the keyboard shortcut, Command Z. Let me undo that. If you want to do this on the fly, all you need to do is come in here and hover between these two layers, hold down your Option key or your Alt key on your PC, and you'll get this down arrow. Remember, that's what we're trying to get. Once you get that symbol, click, and it does the exact same thing. As long as you get that down arrow, it's right there. My adjustments are gone. If I want to go ahead and make changes, I can go ahead and select that layer, and notice how my values are still right there. I can go ahead and keep changing how I want that duck to look. So this is working in a non-destructive fashion. And really, in all your work, this is how you should be thinking, how to make sure you're always working in a non-destructive fashion. So this is the first set. In the next video, we're going to pick up on the rest of these.